Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping headfirst into the incredibly high-stakes world of real-world AI. And we're using the fantastic book, A Practical Guide for Responsible Machine Learning, as our guide.
So, imagine this. You're days away from the biggest product launch of your career, and then you get this message. It's the kind of thing that makes your heart just stop. This actually happened inside IBM, and it's the perfect and honestly kind of terrifying place to start our story about the hidden dangers of AI.
Okay, so let's really unpack this IBM story, because it's a masterclass in what happens when a team gets so focused on technical performance, they completely forget about what happens when their creation hits the real world. So you've got this team at IBM. They're on the absolute brink of releasing a brand new AI. For months, their entire world has revolved around one thing: improving its F1 score. Now, you can think of the F1 score as like a technical batting average for an AI. It's this one number that's supposed to tell you how good it is. And by that metric, man, they were knocking it out of the park. The launch is literally days away. And a researcher in the team just decides, hey, let's run one more test, just for the heck of it. He feeds the system an image of a person in a wheelchair, something a little different, not the standard stuff it's seen a million times. And what came back was a total disaster. There it is. The system's official tag for the image was loser. Let that sink in. This is the moment everything changed. While the team was so busy chasing that high F1 score, they'd accidentally built an AI that was, by their own numbers, technically accurate, but ethically and morally a catastrophe.
And look, it would be easy to just point a finger at this one team at IBM, but this wasn't some fluke. This kind of failure is shockingly common. We see it happening over and over again, even with the biggest, smartest tech companies in the world. They all stumble, and they usually do it in very public ways. Remember the Apple Card launch? Almost immediately, it was hit with a storm of accusations about gender bias. Men were getting offered way, way higher credit limits than women, even when the women had better credit scores or they shared all their finances. And this is the part that's just wild. Even Apple's own co-founder, Steve Wozniak, tweeted that it happened to his family. The algorithm wasn't explicitly told to be biased. In fact, gender wasn't even one of the inputs. But the historical data it learned from was so full of existing societal biases that it just ended up creating a deeply discriminatory product. And it's pretty much the exact same story over at Amazon. They built this AI to help screen resumes, and they trained it on a decade of their own hiring data. Well, surprise, surprise, that data was mostly from male applicants. So the AI taught itself that men were better candidates. And it literally started penalizing resumes that had words like women's in them, like from Women's Chess Club. Now, these aren't just a few embarrassing blunders from big tech. They point to a much bigger, industry-wide problem. Get this, a staggering 80% of AI projects never even make it out of the testing phase. That means only 20%, just 1 in 5, ever actually goes live. And a lot of the time, it's because these sorts of hidden, dangerous flaws get discovered way too late in the game. So, that's all pretty sobering, right? How do you make sure you end up in that successful 20%? How do you avoid these disasters? Well, it turns out it all starts with picking the right problem to solve in the first place. The secret is to find what the authors of the book call a Goldilocks problem. You know the story, right? Not too big, not too small, but just right. It's not about trying to solve world hunger with your first AI project. It's about finding something small enough that you can actually get it done, but big enough that it makes a real difference and gets people excited. So what does a perfect Goldilocks problem look like? Well, it's got these 4 key ingredients. First, you start small, with a simple yes or no type of question. Second, you go where the data already is. You need a ton of it. Third, you've got to be able to deliver a quick, measurable win. And finally, that win has to actually matter. It has to clearly help the business make money or save money. Let's look at this in action, because the difference is night and day. On the success side, you have Autodesk. They absolutely nailed it. They picked one tiny, annoying problem, password resets, and used AI to slash the resolution time from over a day down to less than 15 minutes. Huge win. Now compare that to the MD Anderson Cancer Center. Their goal was to cure cancer. A noble goal, for sure, but after spending $62 million, they had zero impact on patients because the problem was just way, way too big. All right, so you've done it. You've picked your perfect, just right Goldilocks problem. Now comes the next boss battle, and frankly, it's the most important one: your data. You've heard this a million times, but for AI, it is the absolute #1 unbreakable law of the universe. Garbage in, garbage out. The quality of your AI model will never be better than the quality of the data you use to train it, period. And this is where things get tricky fast. Take a self-driving car. Teaching it to spot a pedestrian seems simple, right? Wrong. What about a person in a wheelchair? Is that a pedestrian? A baby in a stroller? What about the reflection of a person in a store window or a picture of a person on the side of a bus? Each one of these is an edge case that needs a human decision. And if you get them wrong, well, the car might too. We see this exact same problem in super high-stakes areas like healthcare. I mean, look at this. A human doctor can easily see these 3 records are for the same person. But to a computer, these are 3 completely different people. Getting this wrong isn't just an inconvenience. It can lead to devastating medical errors. The stakes of messy data are unbelievably high. And that brings us to the single most important question that every single business leader needs to be asking constantly through this whole process. It's not just how accurate is our model, it's what is the real-world human cost if our AI makes a mistake. So here it is. Here's the big takeaway from all of this. Building AI that actually works, that's successful and responsible, it isn't a technical problem for your data scientist to solve in a dark room. It is first and foremost a leadership challenge. This is where you come in. As a leader, your job is absolutely critical. You have to be the one who defines success in human terms, not just with some F1 score. You've got to get your hands dirty with the data, ask the tough questions about bias and risk, and make damn sure that your tech team never loses sight of the real people and the real-world context of what they're building. Because in the end, an AI system is basically just a mirror. It doesn't have its own values or morals. It simply reflects the data we feed it, the priorities we give it, and the biases we overlook. So that really leaves us with one last big question. When you build your AI, what will that mirror reflect about you and your company?